Class is now in session. I'm Professor Hockey, and today we will be discussing a trade for the San Jose Sharks. They have acquired a goaltender in this one. They trade away Josef Korenar, who most recently actually signed a deal with the San Jose Sharks, as well as a second-round pick next year to the Arizona Coyotes in exchange for goaltender Adin Hill and a 7th round pick next year. So it seems as though the Sharks kind of fast-tracked, in a way, the progress of their prospect goaltender. Korenar played a few games down the stretch this season for the Sharks, and he looked okay. He looked like he had some promising moments, but it was pretty clear he wasn't ready to be a starter next year, and he probably wouldn't be ready to even potentially be a starter within the next 2, maybe 3 years. Adin Hill, on the other hand, he hasn't gotten a ton of workload throughout his career, but he does seem to be a good amount closer to breaking out as a potential starter in the NHL compared to Korenar, and Adin Hill may very well get that opportunity this coming season with the San Jose Sharks. Now, was this fast track in terms of goaltending prospect worth trading down from a second round pick next year to a 7th round pick? Well, that is a bit more of an interesting question. If we take a look at Adin Hill's stats from last season, he started 17 games, 9 wins, a 2.74 GAA, and a .913 save percentage. The GAA isn't great, but it also isn't too bad. The save percentage, though, is actually above average with a .913, so it goes to show that while Adin Hill is letting in a good amount of goals, a decent amount of goals, it's happening on a lot of shots because the Coyotes were getting a bit shelled. But here's where it becomes a bit more of an issue. Even having said that, the Coyotes do commit to much more of a defensive style of game compared to the San Jose Sharks. It's a reason why, a player of Phil Kessel's skill never has really exploded while being in Arizona. It was a reason why when Taylor Hall arrived to the Coyotes last year, he really didn't get to do much offensively, and it's why the Coyotes never really have some sort of big leading scorer on their team. It's always a score by committee situation because a lot of the times they're playing a bit more of a defensive style, which helps to shield and, make the stats of their goaltenders look better than they may actually be on a different team. Now, the Sharks themselves aren't an average defensive team, right? That's not just a small drop-off from the Coyotes. It is a large drop-off. The Sharks are not a good defensive team at all. So that the question, how good will Adin Hill's stats actually hold up in San Jose? Will we expect a 2.74 GA and a .913 save percentage? My guess is that those would probably end up trending somewhat downwards. And the problem would then be if they actually trend downwards to where Martin Jones currently finds himself at below a 900 save percentage and above a 3.0 GAA, then you've basically traded a second round pick in exchange for a 7th round pick for absolutely no reason. So it felt as though the Sharks were going to try and acquire maybe a bit more of a proven goaltender at the NHL level, but Adin Hill now a bit more of a risk, in my opinion. It could definitely end up working out somewhat well, but it also does beg another question of whether or not the Sharks, if they do buy out Martin Jones, is Adin Hill really ready to even be a starter at the NHL level? Is he ready to play 60 games in a season, or will he end up maybe even splitting a bit of time with Melnichuk? Or is the acquisition of a goaltender with relative inexperience like Adin Hill a sign that the Sharks may not actually buy out Martin Jones and may go with, once again, like they did this past season with Devan Dubnyk, a 1A, 1B setup where maybe Adin Hill trends to get a bit more starts than Martin Jones, but it'll end up depending on performance. There's a lot of questions now here. The roster lock is pretty much in place as we move towards the expansion draft and the NHL entry draft, and this is the beginning of what is likely to be a busy offseason for the Sharks. Class dismissed.